We are back from spring break, and so is Bobby Levine. Bobby, where have you been?
It's been a long couple of weeks. I'm finally back. I do want to apologize to Mrs. Ozachek for missing 2 weeks ago, but this show is for you and you only.
Yep, Marta, this whole show is for you. Basketball, hockey, and more basketball coming up next, Ohio Sports Zone.
Welcome back to Ohio Sports Zone. I'm Bobby Levine. Alongside me is, again, Ethan Graham.
We're back, baby.
Papa Sexy is here. Right. It's great. Great time for basketball. March Madness is starting as we speak, except Ohio did not get an invitation this year. Yep. They lost in the semifinals back-to-back years now in Cleveland. A heartbreaking loss to Kent State by 2 points. They finished the year 20-11. It is 68-66 loss. What happened?
Yeah, before we get to that Kent State game, not a total loss in Cleveland. Cats able to hand Toledo a 67-66 win. Move on to that Final Four of the MAC tournament. Really, this is a game Ohio came out struggling, shot the ball better as the game went on, but it did take them until the last minute, though. Kenny Kaminsky, who's struggled at times this year with his shot, been inconsistent, finally able to find a roll here down the stretch. Came down, hit a game-winning jumper with 7 seconds left to send Ohio to the next round, where they would struggle with Kent State. A 68-66 loss, a close game throughout. Once again, the narrative is the same. Bobcats come out slow in the first half, very slow in this half. They get a run going towards the end of the first half, get this and into the beginning of the second half, get this game back. Jalen Smith, who comes down for Kent State, hits the go-ahead shot. He thought the game was tied, but the shot he made would have tied the game, but it put them up. Just tough loss for Ohio. Better luck next year.
Absolutely. It was a heartbreaking loss. Was watching down in Florida. Great tournament as a whole, though. The next night, Akron ended up getting upset in the championship by this Kent State team, who will play UCLA later this weekend in the first round of the March Madness tournament. Now, looking back at Ohio's season, what are the key wins and key losses?
Yeah, it was certainly a season of ups and downs. Obviously, if we go, off of the actual games, the commanding narrative over this season, Bobby, was unfortunately Antonio Campbell breaking his foot right at the beginning of MAC play. This is a team that was returning the MAC Player of the Year, Antonio Campbell, physically imposing in all aspects of the game. He can shoot threes. He can shoot mid-range. He can, provide that defense. Lost a whole bunch of weight. I'm guessing 30 or 40 pounds coming into this offseason. You really had to feel for the guy when he went down. But, with or without Antonio, this basketball team was able to compete. They never made excuses at times. That was a big thing from Saul's press conferences when he went out. Jerron still said they were the favorite to win the MAC. And, it really did look like that way. They ended up with a number 2 seed. Key wins, going down to Georgia Tech, getting a 67-61 win. That was still with Antonio, showing they can contain, some of the bigger guys. A huge win for an ACC against an ACC school for a MAC team. That Buffalo win, Kenny Kaminsky hitting the buzzer beater at Buffalo. That was a good win. The 96-72 win, BG, 18 threes in that game. But some of the key losses, Marshall on the road, 98-88, not a lick of defense being played by the Cats in that game. That was really their first showing of weakness. Lost 79-75 to Iona, who was a tournament team last year. Once again, struggling out of conference on the road. And a loss to Western Kentucky, who was 5-7 at the time of this loss, Bobby. So, that's something I look forward to next year. Missing some players. How will they, respond on the road out of conference?
All right, now, if you look at the team at the end of the season, we were very low on depth. We talked about this before we came on the show, 8 players deep. Do you think that's the main reason why we did not make a tournament in the offseason? Talking about NIT, CBA, CBI, any of those?
Yes, certainly. As much as I love those, niche basketball tournaments, as much as you and I love the Vegas 8, Ohio was not there. I think it was a depth issue. It comes down to 8 players. If any one of these guys goes out and tears in the ACL, that's a 9 to 12 month injury. Best case, you're back by the start of, camp here. But worst case, you're out for the entire next season. So I really think that was a huge part of it if they got an invitation, but I don't know that they necessarily deserve to be there, and that's what kills me. But we look at these bad out-of-conference losses, Marshall, Iona, and even, some bad MAC losses like Eastern Michigan and, Toledo even once. I would say those are more of the reasons why they're not there. But moving forward into next year, should be getting a little bit more depth. Zach Butler, a 6'5" guard coming up from the South. This guy is dynamic. He can get in the paint. He can score. He's an excellent passer. Also, Jason Arkley of the Athens Messenger reporting that Kyrie Harley, who's a big 6'8" body out of the backcourt, is transferring, leaving the program. So that's another blow for the Bobcats. But some guys coming in. Should be a nice year for the Bobcats next year.
Before we go to a quick commercial break, as a whole, letter grade wise, what do you give the Bobcats?
They were able to overcome this injury. Nonetheless, still can't make excuses. I'm going to give it a B-. They fought hard. They played hard. Never an effort thing, but just couldn't get it done, and it was certainly due to a lack of bodies. I mean, we never like to speculate, but who knows what would have happened if they would have had Antonio. It certainly would have been much easier to handle Kent State with him.
I look at it as he is a guy that will score more than 2 points a game. With him, we beat Kent State and we beat Akron in the championship game. We're playing this weekend for the March Madness first-round tournament, and who knows from there. I give us a B grade myself. This, I guess, is the end of for basketball here.
Yeah, we'll see you next year.
We'll see you next year, but we'll go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have women's basketball in the season wrap-up for this one here on Ohio Sports Zone.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
We are back on Ohio Sports Zone. Ethan Graham with a crispy Bobby Levine. Bobby, you just got back from vacation. Looked like you gained a few, shades there.
I did. The sun was out and about in Florida, unlike here, being 32, if not below there.
Hey, that's all right. We have fun here in the Midwest. Nonetheless, a MAC tournament recap. A tough 72-71 loss for Ohio. Ohio was making it rain threes in the first half. They had a commanding 23-point lead, but lost this one in a heartbreaker. Bobby, where do you even begin to dissect this game?
Where do I? All right, we're going to go back to spring break last week. You and I were texting during the game.
Yeah,
the first half, the Bobcats, as you said, quote-unquote, they look like Golden State. Okay,
they're making it rain.
And with that, they blew it. The 3-1 lead ended up coming back and biting them in the behind. Jasmine Weatherspoon finished with a double-double, 11 points, 10 rebounds. Kier Lampkins with 17 points. Armani Burke with 16 points. The Bobcats had a 23-point lead in the first half. And late in the second quarter, had a 10-point-plus lead in the fourth quarter. Blew it. I texted you. You left to go get some food.
As much as I hate to say it, yeah.
Came back, and they ended up blowing lead. Armani Burke had a chance to tie or get the lead, with no time left as a three-pointer went off the back rim. The season ends. The Bobcats finish the season 22-9. They are in the WNIT. We'll talk about this a little bit later. The third straight year the Bobcats finish above 500, though.
Certainly a tough pill to swallow, and those girls, a ton of seniors. We'll get to that a little bit later, too. But Toledo would go on to win the MAC tournament over NIU, team the Bobcats lost to. So I guess if there's any sort of consolation for Bobcat fans, the team they lost to did end up making it to that MAC championship game. Toledo won this tournament, got the automatic bid, got a 10 seed. That is unusually high for a MAC team in men's or women's basketball. Bobby, what's up with that?
Okay, so I don't understand this whole thing. So 3 years ago when the Bobcats lost 4 games in the regular season, they finished 27-4. They made the tournament, and they were a 14 seed. This team, those girls, were a lot better than this Toledo team. Going back to the MAC tournament this year, the number 1, 2, and 3 seeds, Central Michigan, Ball State, and Kent State, all in the second round, their first game in the MAC tournament, all were upset. The championship was between Toledo, a 6 seed, and then a 4 seed NIU. That means a 6 seed had to play its way into Cleveland.
Unbelievable.
They get a 10 seed in the major tournament. I don't understand this. I am still blown away by this. I have no explanation for this. And I guess we have to see how good they are moving forward in playing a 6 seed.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to reach out to the women's selection committee next week. But that was a very exciting second round of the MAC tournament, like you said. In addition to the upsets, 4 points or less in a majority of those games was the deciding score. Moving back to Ohio, though, this was a loaded team we talk about all year, full of seniors. Kara Lampkins, Hannah Basinger, Jasmine Weatherspoon, Yamani Jenkins, all moving on from this program. Devastating blow to the Bobcats. Bobby, what does this mean to this program?
Last year we lost a whole bunch of seniors as well. Lexi Baldwin, Kiana Black, 2 huge players. And this year, again, 4 seniors that all were starters. Moving forward, this is going to be such a huge hit to this team. I'm not quite sure how they're going to be able to bounce back. They have a young squad coming back. Leadership, Kelly Carlos going to have to step up. Armani Burke's going to be a huge player to move forward. But, again, losing so much seniors, Bob Bolden's going to be the main question. I know that's going to be your next question moving forward. Right now, if these girls don't do well in this WNIT, he made a whole class come through. This is his 4th year. He's getting calls from the top-notch programs. I do expect him to leave if they don't do well and say, you know what, I've done my job here, got these girls to the next plateau, maybe next cylinder block moving up forward for the Bobcats, but he's got to move on too.
Yeah, another thing when you talk about individual accomplishments, Kara Lampkins averaged about 18 points a year, was not on the All-MAC first team. What do you think about that?
Again, big questions. I'm not quite sure. The selection committee, the women's wise, we also talked to the MAC women's selection.
We'll add them to the list, huh?
We'll call them up after the show and ask them what's going on. She's by far the best player in the MAC this year. She should have been first off.
And it's not just scoring either.
All things. She was almost averaging a double-double. Just confused as a whole. She should have been first team All-MAC, and if not player of the year in the MAC. She got shafted.
That's certainly a bold statement there from Bobby Levine. Bobcats season not over on the women's side of things, heading to Happy Valley to take on Penn State. Bobby, will they leave this valley happy? Will the Bobcats come out with a win?
Yes, they will definitely leave with a win. I do expect the Bobcats just to get revenge after a very, very salty loss to Northern Illinois just a week ago. If they do win this, they're either going to play Fordham or Georgetown in the second round. There's 64 teams in WNIT, a lot of teams. If they do win that, it'll be a rematch, the same location on the bracket against Virginia Tech and the Sweet 16 of the WNIT. And you know what? If the girls can get that far, why not win it all?
Not the tournament they would like to be in, but certainly would still be some huge victories for that program. We were talking about earlier in this segment, Bob Bolden has built this program up from nothing, literally like 5 wins, a whole bunch of losses. He's going to be getting calls. I mean, nonetheless, he doesn't have these big conference wins, these big NCAA tournament appearances just yet. But like you said, he's going to be getting calls. I know we're just speculating at this time, but do you see him moving? And with that being said, if you see him moving, is there any possible destinations you can see him ending up at?
He came from Youngstown State. He just came to Ohio University. I could see somewhere in the Midwest. Ohio State is a job that is not going to be open, and I don't think he has the experience yet to take over there. But maybe a Cincinnati or Xavier, moving up into closer Power 5 conference. I mean, the UC is right there with the American. It's very close. If not, you can go to a small Big Ten school, because any Big Ten school that aren't doing well are looking for better coaches and moving forward.
Yeah, I think with that being said, Bob Bolden also might stay in the Midwest. He's established his pretty good recruiting pedigree. You can see girls like Amani Burke come in, who looks like she's going to be a very good basketball player, and then maybe probably a starter next year with some of these losses, perhaps. Real quick, before we go to break here, prediction for next year. Do you see the Cats coming out of the MAC?
It's going to be tough. A lot of losses, not just on Ohio University, but the rest of the MAC. This year, I do give them a grade of a B-, just like you give the men's. Moving forward next year, I do expect them to go over 500. Still a coin toss to see how good they'll be in the MAC, though.
Well, a disappointing season, end of the season, I should say, on the hardwood for both squads. But nonetheless, congratulations, both winning seasons, both very competitive teams. We're going to go to break. Stay right where you are. Ohio Bobcats hockey with Shane Dazen coming up next. Ohio Sports Zone.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back, Mrs. Oshachek. This is Ohio Sports Zone. I'm Bobby Levine. Alongside me is Shane Dazen, the play-by-play analysis for Ohio hockey, and Ethan Graham.
Yo.
Papa Sexy over there.
That's right.
We're going to be talking about Ohio hockey now. For everyone out there, the Ohio hockey team lost its first appearance in the ACHA National Championship since 2004. They had an unbelievable run. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, and then just leading up into that first national championship appearance since 2004, Ohio played a spirited game against Oklahoma, ended up routing them 13-1. Really easy, smooth sailing, moving on into this quarterfinals there, And in the second game, 3-2 victory against Stony Brook, a tough team, one that's always in that top 10 in the ACHA, so that was a real quality victory for the Bobcats. Patrick Spellacy has 2 goals in that game, Liam Geither with 2 assists, and those 2 really set the tone for the Bobcats moving into their semifinal matchup against Adrian College. And in that game, they won 4-2. Again, Patrick Spellacy with another 2 goals, another shorthanded goal, which made it 2 for him in as many days. So you really like that impact on that first line with Spellacy and Geither and Hartman, really making things happen for the Bobcats in the lead up to that national championship game. And they came out and they had all the opportunities in the world,
Sure did.
but none of the breaks. Really unfortunate for the Cats to see them waste a 44-23 shot advantage, getting pucks on the net, creating a ton of pressure in front of Central Oklahoma's goaltender, but they couldn't find the back of the net there. And a couple bad breaks for the Bobcats, and next thing you know, it's 3-0, and you're going home a loser in the national championship.
Tough season, but congratulations, I should say, to those guys. It's still very difficult to make it that far. 27-8-2 was the final record for the Bobcats. At the beginning of this year, we were, kind of speculating. This was a team that had 9 freshmen coming in. It's a ton of youth, not what they're used to. How would you grade the play of the freshmen this year? I thought they did outstanding. Do you share that opinion?
Nah, they did a great job. It was really refreshing to see these guys seamlessly transition into that lineup. Guys like Gianni Evangelisti, that third-line center who filled a crucial role for
led the team in points, right?
Yeah, second in the team in points. There were 32 on the season's end. But, great role for the young Evangelisti, a guy like Jake Houston there on the blue line doing marvelous things, wizard on skates, as I like to call him, really slick skater, smooth passer, good shot, and a guy that doesn't get enough credit for his impact on this team this year. Jimmy Thomas in net, that freshman goaltender. Aaron Alkema, who is a stalwart in the net for the Bobcats, ends up getting replaced halfway through the year because Thomas would not be denied that starting job. He just took that and ran with it, and he had a great ACHA national tournament. And it was unfortunate to see him on the losing end there.
Yeah, I've never really see a goalie like that, especially a freshman go on that sort of run. But from freshmen to even more, older guys. They had 10 seniors versus 9 freshmen. That's 10 spots, most of them in the starting lineup, most of them in that top 6 or in that top 4 defensive role, as well as Aaron Alkema, right? He's a senior as well.
Yeah, Ryan Helshin as well.
So that's two of their stud goalies. Are you worried about them filling those voids coming into next year? Should Bobcat fans be worried about these 10 leaving seniors?
I don't think there's any cause for panic here if you're a Bobcats fan. Coach Hogan showed his propensity for recruiting with the class that we just got this past year, and if that's any indication toward what kind of talent he's seeking, I think that the Bobcats are in good hands here in the next few years. Not sure where they're going to start with this recruiting class. Lost a plethora of forwards, so I think you got to look to fill some of those spots first. But speaking of these freshman guys, these guys are going to be moving up in that lineup. Guys like Evangelisti, guys like Tyler Harkins, guys like Patrick Hannon are going to fill bigger roles for the Bobcats in this coming year, and getting that experience this season is only going to magnify those roles next year.
Yeah, those guys moving up, and deservedly so. Another thing we talk about from week to week is the style of play. This constant, putting the puck on net at all costs. If you have any sort of shooting lane, put it on. Even if there's a guy in a way, still not a bad play to get that puck going towards the net. We talk about how this kind of play is, boring to watch at times, and, sometimes leaves Ohio in not the best position to win games. But flat out, they made it to the national championship game with this style of play, with them, getting hell-bent on getting 50 shots a game no matter what. we were absolutely proven wrong by this team's style of play. What are your thoughts on their style of play? This constant, shoot the puck at all costs. Do you think this is something they're going to continue with going forward?
Well, I know sometimes fans in the stands get a little bit upset with the fact that the Bobcats are relentlessly, attacking the zone and not having those, crazy skill plays that you're so accustomed to seeing these superstar players having. But that's not the Bobcats game. The Bobcats game is very systemic. They work as a team. They cycle the puck deep. They get it back up high, and they create that constant pressure that really is just a thorn in the sides for every opponent. Look at what they did in the ACHA National Tournament, outshooting their opponents 200-99, almost a 2-1 margin there.
Outrageous.
In shots. Yeah, 3 out of the 4 games in the tournament, 50-plus shots. The one game where we didn't get 50-plus shots, we had 44. So you look at that type of offense, and what you're able to do with that is so crucial for the Bobcats and how they win hockey games.
Robert over there made a prediction earlier in the show. I made a prediction earlier in the show. I want you to make a prediction right now. Ohio Bobcats hockey, how do you see next year shaping up for them?
The same deal with the basketball team. It's going to be tough competition. You look at guys like Central Oklahoma. You look at guys like Minot State. You look at guys like Adrian College, all in the mix this season. There's no reason to believe that they won't be there again next year. So Ohio's going to have a tough road, but all the pieces are in place for the Bobcats to replicate the success this season and get back there next year. And we look at the last time they lost in an ACHA National Championship, what happened the year afterward. They would go on and they win it. So just based on that alone, you'd like to think that their chances are pretty high, and I'd like to think that the Bobcats are going to be in solid standing there.
Outstanding coverage from Shane Dazen. Coming up next, we're going to make a racket with our brackets. It's Ohio Sports Zone.
Cut.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
We are back on Ohio Sports Zone. Thanks for sticking with us. Shane Dazen, Bobby Levine. It's March Madness. It's a great time to be a basketball fan. Real quick, fellas, we'll start with Shane. How's your bracket going?
Oh, it's going pretty good so far. The one I turned in for J and B seat at the table isn't looking so hot, but my ones on ESPN are faring well. I got one with only one wrong so far. That was Middle Tennessee State beating Minnesota, and I picked that in a lot of my other brackets, so I was kind of upset about that. But yeah, doing all right.
Bobby, what about you?
Well, if you guys can check it out as a whole, seat at the table, seatattheT.com, see the T on every social media. Check us out. We filled our whole bracket. We only have one loss so far.
Oh, that's pretty good, you
Yes.
know. 7 guys, 7 smart guys know what they're talking about, getting things going real quick. Not real quick, I don't know what I'm talking about. Just answer the question in a normal fashion, if you would, please. Who is your guys' dark horse in this tournament? You guys have maybe a sneaky team, not necessarily, a terribly low double-digit seed, but who's a team maybe you have in the Elite Eight, maybe the Sweet 16, maybe even the Final Four, heck, that, not everyone has?
I'm taking them all the way to Titletown, baby. I got SMU, 30-4, 17-1 in the American Conference. 5 guys with over 10 points a game. Love their balanced scoring. Love what they've been able to do against similar competition. And though they don't have those big signature wins, they get 2 wins against Cincinnati, another good team coming out of that conference this year. Number 33, Semi Ojale, 18.9 points a game, 7 rebounds a game. A big guy up front for the Stangs, as you like to call them. So, yeah, I like SMU. I have them riding all the way to the Final Four.
All right, well, you guys missed it on the J&B podcast. You can check that out on Facebook or YouTube, Seat at the Table. Ethan actually predicted if SMU makes it to the Final Four, he'll get them tattooed Stangs somewhere on his body.
I'm glad we have that on 2 shows
I
now.
believe he said forehead, right?
I think
very
very
No,
serious.
we'll let it on anywhere on his body, but I'm going to go with my dark horse, coming out of the Midwest region, Michigan Wolverines. Now, I'm a diehard Buckeye fan. I'll admit that right on camera. But the Michigan Wolverines, being a rival, has shown me a lot in the last week. Winning the Big Ten title, playing almost got a huge crash. They slid off the runway. They had to play the first game in their practice jerseys, won the whole thing after that. They are the hottest team coming in with Duke. So I think watch out for the Wolverines.
My dark horse, thank you for asking,
Yeah,
is also Michigan. I have them right into the Elite Eight. This is a very focused ball club. Just to follow up on a lot of things you said, a near-death experience. Not going to throw them off. I can't imagine any basketball teams until they maybe run into Kansas will throw them off. Another team I like, going all the way to the Final Four, is Florida State. Dwayne Bacon, Jonathan Isaac, two absolute NBA lottery picks. Dwayne Bacon can do all sorts of things. A very dynamic player, can get to the rack, a very quick, athletic player, and he can shoot that three ball as well. Middle Tennessee State is the only big upset today so far.
Middle Tennessee.
I said Middle Tennessee.
You said State.
It is State.
It's not State. Middle Tennessee, folks.
Middle Tennessee. We'll have
check
to look that one up after the show.
We could fact check that one. I promise
yeah,
you.
along with those phone calls. Nonetheless, anybody have an upset special? Any crazy upset you guys have that have either happened so far? You guys have picking for the rest of tonight's games or Friday's games?
All right, so I've got two so far today. One kind of not really an upset. Northwestern, congratulations to the Wildcats. First time ever in the tournament. They get the job done. Crazy ending against Vanderbilt. There's a reason why Vanderbilt has 15 losses, now 16. Very dumb play at the end of the game. I also picked Xavier to win and beat Maryland. The 6th-seeded Maryland Terrapins end up with a huge loss. Xavier is going to the next round, the round of 32. And my upset for tonight, Florida Gulf Coast. They played a couple years ago as a 15 seed. They end up upsetting Georgetown, moving on all the way and playing Florida in the Sweet 16. I have them winning tonight and losing to Xavier Saturday.
Bobby Brackett's picking Xavier. Can't go wrong. Shane, any upsets on your end?
I was mildly disappointed to state that Winthrop did not do as well as I expected them to do. Tough loss today against Butler, but back to that matchup, Middle Tennessee, like what they're doing on the court earlier, I think that they have a really good shot to beat these Bulldogs of Butler when they play next. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made some hay here. I think that this is a team that is an up-and-coming non-Power 5 powerhouse. I think that a win last year against Michigan State really set the tone for them to get onto the national stage, and they're only proving themselves even further here with their success in this tournament early on.
My upset special, not a whole lot of Cinderellas so far in this tournament as we tape here, but the number 14 seed New Mexico State over Oregon. 0-8 in NCAA tournament play, but Cinderella get on their dancing shoes down there in New Mexico State. What?
They're playing. You saying Oregon?
Yeah, New Mexico State.
Iona's playing Oregon.
I don't think
another fact check here on Ohio Sports.
Are you sure?
I'm looking at the bracket right here.
We don't really know anything.
We don't know anything. New Mexico State's playing Baylor, right?
Yeah, that's who they're playing.
That's who I mean, yeah. New Mexico State's over Baylor. Yeah, take it to the bank, hopefully. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Sure. Oops, I told you so. We're a mess. I'm sorry, everybody. It's March. Everyone makes some good calls, bad calls in your brackets. Have any of you made that big call that no one else saw coming? Have any of you had an I told you so moment?
Other than Middle Tennessee winning today, I really can't say I have so far. I guess we'll see where competition leads us tomorrow. But yeah, everything's pretty much chalk so far.
I pretty much told you guys that the Xavier win's pretty big. Again, like Ethan said, not much craziness happening so far. Maybe later tonight, and if it doesn't happen tonight, watch out for Friday, because I promise you, if nothing's happening today, there has to be something shaking up later.
As we just saw, March can make people look really stupid, myself included. Have any of you made that terrible pick yet, Shane?
Yeah, I went with Winthrop earlier, and that really didn't go so hot for me. I was watching the first half of that basketball game. It was 40-21, and I turned the TV off. It was a snoozer. So, yeah, sorry for all you Winthrop fans. I really wish I didn't have, jumped on that bandwagon, but no can do this year.
All right. Before we end this segment, though, I want to say, going back to our podcast, Matt Harrington, my roommate, he picked Princeton in his Elite Eight. I haven't had a pick that bad yet. That's horrible. What do you have?
Yeah, my bad pick was Eastern Tennessee over Florida. You guys made fun of me on the podcast.
There's no way.
And now I see why. Well, it was close in the second
half.
Yeah, it stings. We'll see. Before we get out of here, I want to know your guys' Final Four and who you have in the title game. Shane, we'll start with you.
All right, so my Final Four consists of SMU, WVU, Iowa State, and UCLA. And I know a lot of people think that I'm crazy for picking those teams. I just can't bear picking 1s and 2s. I really like to shake it up, so I'm looking for a couple big upsets here. And my finals is SMU and UCLA. I got UCLA winning.
We will see if there's a method to Shane's madness. Bobby, your Final Four and your championship.
I have all Blue Bloods in the Final Four. I got Duke, Zona, Michigan, UK. I have Duke playing Kentucky, and Kentucky winning the whole thing. Go Wildcats.
I have Duke, Florida State beating Florida Gulf Coast. Hopefully, we'll maybe see what happens there. Kansas, UNC, and I have UNC over at Duke, 2 heavyweights of college basketball. We're about done here in Ohio.
Before we go, can we make this on camera? If Florida Gulf Coast wins tonight, can we get an eagle tattoo as well on?
I'm not getting 2 tattoos.
It's okay.
Bobby, you got to get that one. You got to get
We'll
that
talk
one.
about it.
No tattoos.
Yo,
let's get out of here. This is a mess. This is Ohio Sports Zone. I'm Ethan Grammer. At least I've tried to be. This is Bobby Levine. This is Shane Dazen. See you next week.
Good night, Mrs. Ojacek.